Hey there, friends. Dave Paulides, Canine Missing Project. And that is Huckleberry. She is quite fluffy today. She was out running around like a crazy girl. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. You smell something? Huh? What's that, huh? Yeah. What is that? What is that? You're a good girl. I need to take her and get a wash after she's been out playing for the week. She's looking a little ragged, not quite as white as she normally is, but we'll get to that later. So, today I'm going to touch on something new. First of all, that right there, American Sasquatch, is finally out, available to the public, online for streaming. You can go out there right now, Amazon, Apple TV, and watch it. Yes, watch it. Finally. It's almost been 3 years. Can't believe it's finally here. Well, a little bit about the premiere. I'm actually going to have some footage for you in a couple days of the premiere. But I personally spoke to over 100 people after we aired the movie in Tacoma. And I heard more positive comments after that movie than I've ever heard after a movie I've ever made. Not that people were ever rude on any of my movies, but just the flow of the positivity was unreal. And I'm very, very grateful to each one of you that came and saw it. I really do appreciate people's opinions and thoughts, so thank you. The version you're going to see online is different than the version that you saw in Tacoma by one small little thing. The editor missed something in the version that they put up on Amazon and Apple, and at the very end there's a misspelling of a word. Embarrassing. It wasn't. We fixed it before we could put it up in Tacoma, so the Tacoma version was right. So if you see a misspelling, we know about it. We're going to try to fix it. Now, the attendees in Tacoma, let's talk about some of the researchers. And these guys are important to me, folks. Here's why. They're in the heat of the battle. They're the ones that every day go out there and go to conferences and things and get the feedback from people. If they didn't like what I put up, if they didn't like the way I strung the information together to put it in a nice basket, if they didn't like it, then I don't think the public's going to like it. First comment was from Ron Moorhead. He said, "I believe the film will be groundbreaking." Coming from Ron, who I respect so much, that really meant a lot. Joe Hauser, owner of the Montana Vortex, he said, "Thank you for giving us the opportunity and taking a bold step in opening a new paradigm in the Bigfoot world." Privately, he said it was awesome. Awesome. Dr. Rob Alley, "Thank you for being our quarterback. You are throwing touchdown passes." Rob, the eternal wordsmith. Thanks, Rob. I appreciated that very much. Those were just 3 of them. And there were dozens and dozens more. Some people came up to me afterwards and said, "Dave, I didn't think that you could do a Bigfoot movie and not have it be like all the others. But this one was totally different. How'd you come up with that?" So I'd gone to a series of conferences in the last 3 years. And from one person in particular, who's on TV all the time, saying whatever producers want him to say, he would always come up at conferences and said, I've been researching Bigfoot for 20 years and studying the topic, and I've never heard of anything unusual or paranormal related to the topic ever. And it was meant to be an insult to me because I was the one that was up right before him each time. I felt that the facts need to be put in front of the public. And in the movie, there's a man who went to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Academy, who worked for a federal agency, who came in and was given the job of studying Bigfoot and UFOs. And this man is eternally credible. And he talked about a string of unusual things that happened to him during his career. I don't know how you can knock that. Sorry, I don't know how you can. He didn't volunteer for the job. He was ordered to do the job by his supervisor. So he didn't have a dog in the fight. He was just out there to find the facts. And when you find out what he says, you will be stunned. The other one. Many of you know I follow Skinwalker Ranch very closely. I've gone to their conferences in Utah, in Vernal. I've been around these people. They're credible. They're way smarter than I am. And before they ended up at the ranch, it was owned by Mr. Bigelow, Robert Bigelow. And he had his own team on there for years and years. The team was headed by Colin Kelleher. Colin, I met with our crew in Las Vegas, and we taped him for over 2 hours, interviewing him about a variety of things related to the ranch. What he tells you in this movie is groundbreaking for sure. It substantiates everything that other researchers have said along the way in the last 30 years. It's what he and his PhD physicist team experienced there. There were no cameras for movies and documentaries and for making money. They were there just for the research. There's no reason for him to exaggerate. He's a pure scientist. He was very important to the movie, and I am very grateful that Colin agreed to step in and do it. And then there's a series of sighting reports in the movie. Over the last year or two, I've had several people come to me and give me a report about what they saw. So I did the same thing I've done in the past. I wrote it up in an affidavit, and I had Harvey Pratt do a forensic sketch on what they saw. Very, very strong reports from a variety of areas. I think you're going to enjoy that part of it. And when we did the movie's about an hour and 40 minutes long. We had about 8 hours of footage. Could have made 2 or 3 movies maybe, but we're not going to. But what I did was there was so much strong evidence that was left out of the movie because we couldn't fit it in, that I said, I can't waste this. So I put it in a book by the same name, American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, or Monster. And it really strengthens the bond that the movie made on the topic. You can get the book. Here's the book. American Sasquatch. At the bottom, it says, Sketches by Forensic Artist Harvey Pratt. And I did something I haven't done in a long time. I made beanies. On one side of the beanie, on the other side of the beanie. Winter's going to be cold, you need your beanie. I also came out again with the hats you all liked, navy blue, American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, or Monster, on the back, our website. And I know, you guys like Blu-rays and DVDs. Again, on our website, missing411.com. With all the rest of the Missing 411 books, maps, etc. Now what I did is, on the back of my book, also included the Bigfoot sightings map of Northern California. And that's for all the people out there that really don't know the topic too well. And I wanted them to get an idea of the dispersion that I experienced of sightings in Northern California when I was doing the Hoopa Project. Yes, the Hoopa Project and Tribal Bigfoot are also available, along with Bigfoot, Wild Men, and Giants. The idea here is to educate you in a comfortable setting, sitting in your home, watching the movie, piquing your interest, and you taking the next step to get more information. That's really what I'm trying to do. I'm not going to try to convince anybody way over there on the ape side of the fence. I think they're ingrained in their thoughts and they're unwilling to watch or read anything other than that. But the people that are on that fence line, you're going to migrate my way. As had many people who watched the movie at the premiere, I found out. Now, the Montana Vortex is in the movie. Yes, it is. And it's closed for the winter, so don't come out here to Montana and expect to get in there. It's closed. It'll open again in late spring, early summer of 2026. Now, as a huge little sneak preview, Joe Hauser, the owner of the Vortex, and his wife Tammy will be with me on the Missing 411 Alaska cruise that leaves September 11th of 2026. Be making several stops. We'll have several excursions that you can go out with us on. Joe will be showing some paranormal footage that he got at the Vortex. A lot of people don't know, but he has cameras set up everywhere. They're going 24/7. And he has tons of fascinating footage. So that's one person. Now the cruise that Gather Up Events is again doing, yes, Gather Up Events, who has done the other Bigfoot cruises. This is a Missing 411 cruise over here and a Bigfoot cruise over here, all on the same ship, all going to the same place. And Marty said that he wanted to split them up because I make the explicit description that they aren't related. And call me guilty if I'm interested in both topics, because I am. I always have been since the Hoopa Project. But they're unrelated. And no one can ever convince me right now that they are related, because there's no evidence that they are. So, yeah, those are some huge, huge things coming up in our future. Now, you go to Gather Up, one word, Gather Up Events, and you can read about the cruise. I'm going to be in Gatlinburg, Tennessee this year for Gather Up's conference in Tennessee. That is a huge event. And if you've never been to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, their downtown area is epic. Last year when we were there, just before we got there, a bear walked through the downtown area of Gatlinburg. It's right adjacent to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. And there's footage from Great Smoky Mountain National Park in our movie. Yes, in American Sasquatch, Scott Carpenter is in the movie, and there's footage that we took with him and he gave us that he took there. I'll also be at the Ocala Bigfoot Conference put on by Gather Up Events as well. You can look at Gather Up under events, get the dates, and you'll see where I'm at. So I've got two big conferences and the cruise, Unfortunately, I will not be at Phenomicon in Vernal this year because there's a conflict of overlap dates between Phenomicon and the cruise. If there's a 411 cruise, how could I not go? You got to have Dave. So I apologize profusely to the organizers at Phenomicon because it's the best conference in the United States, except Gatlinburg and Ocala. So hopefully they'll invite me back the following year. So in the meantime, please post this video in other locations. Go to Amazon.com, type in American Sasquatch, man, myth, or monster, and you will watch it. Same with on Apple TV. If you want the Blu-ray or DVD, missing411.com. Thank you, folks, for being here. You are appreciated. Paulides out.